Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts is meeting today, and that's over deliberations or over answers that it received from President Cyril Ramaphosa. The committee demanded a written explanation for comments that the president made, apparently, in the leaked audio of an ANC NEC meeting. Suspended Member of Parliament, Mervyn Dirks, you might remember, asked Scopa to investigate if Ramaphosa knew of cases where state funds were used for political party events. However, Ramaphosa has reportedly denied any knowledge of such in his response. Former Scopa chairperson is Themba Godi. He joins us now to help us understand what the way forward ought to look like. Themba Godi, it's great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time. I mean, you know, there's really no preempting what Scopa is going to do moving forward, especially in a context where even Kulego Shenga himself wouldn't be drawn on what the way forward looks like. But given what is currently in the public domain, do you get a sense that there is a right way of handling this?
Yeah, this was always going to be a challenging one. Not so much because of the administrative processes, more so because of the political concentrations. Like everybody knows, it is the president of the country involved. No president has hitherto been called to appear before the Committee of Parliament, so there is no precedence and the politics that are involved. Now, in terms of simple process, like you recall, the committee said, let's ask for information, we'll look at the information, and then decide whether we want to call the president or not. Now, from some snippets that we are hearing, it is that the president says he has no knowledge. Now, does the committee then let it pass because the president has no knowledge? Or does it say, but there is a contradiction here? In the audio you say you know, and you are prepared to fall on your sword to protect the ANC. Is this the president falling on his sword to protect the ANC? And if that is the case, what is the duty of a parliamentary committee? Especially in the light of the president last week having spoken strongly against corruption. And yet here he is falling in his sword to protect his organization, corrupt practices.
Yeah, I mean, just yesterday, the NPA head, Shamila Batoyi, was speaking about difficulties that she's having with having any kind of successful prosecutions, especially against corruption. But I want to also try hone in on the president's responses here. He said he has no knowledge himself about the funds being used for these purposes, but actually stops short of saying that this didn't happen. In fact, he chooses some kind of off-ramp, if you like, and says it's public knowledge that the allegations have always been out there, the rumor mill has always been running. I mean, surely there is something useful for Scopa there as well.
Yeah, not true. Like I'm saying, from what we already have in the public domain, surely Scopa will then be interested to have the president appearing before them in person so that he can explain himself. Because it is either he's misleading the committee or he was actually politicking in the ANC meeting, threatening his opponents that I know of your wrongdoings, when actually he knows none. So in a country where we have high incidence of corruption, and with a president who came to power on the bandwagon of fighting corruption, and him last week declaring war on criminal gangs, I mean, he used the name criminals repeatedly in his speech. Surely, I think he puts more pressure on himself to come clean. Come and explain yourself. What did you mean? What do you mean? I remember that in the meeting of the committee where they took the decision, its chairperson said actually state security was ready to give him information, but he had told them to wait until the meeting of the committee. So the question is, what was that information? Has it been given? Do they have it? Or state security would have given them information that they have, but the president will say, I did not know. But the question that must still be answered is, what did you mean in that audio when you said, it is common knowledge we know, and I would rather this lies buried to protect the image of the ANC. I'm prepared to fall on my sword. Is the president falling in his sword to defend corruption within his party, or what? I think for me, that's the fundamental question that the president must answer before Parliament, and to take the public in its confidence, and for us to take him seriously every time he talks about corruption.
Right, right. There are people who, I guess, are more sympathetic to the president's version of events here. This idea that it's always been known that state funds are used for party political purposes, specifically within the ANC, dating back to its Nasrec and Polokwane conferences, arguably. If that is to be believed, if that is to be true, can Scopa avoid questions being asked to it about what it knew and what it did and didn't do in response to that?
Well, look, the issue of public money being wasted is there annually in the reports of the Auditor General. What is not there in the report is who the persons are. And in my view, I thought Scopa would say, well, give us the information, and then they will then take that and compare it with the annual reports and say, this irregular expenditure of 10 million in the Department of Water Affairs and this fruitless and wasteful expenditure in denial was actually taken by the ANC for their own. So they would link his information to the annual reports and be able to say, okay, so this amount is what went to the ANC and these other amounts, well, maybe went to the criminal networks that are there. So to say it is known by who, as fact or as rumor. But if the president say, I'm prepared to fall on my sword to protect the image of the ANC, I think for me that statement tells you that he knows. And I think as a lawyer, you can't use the kind of talk that we hear and say, no, I've had people talking about it and I also took it to the fact. For him to say, I know, it is a no, we all know. You, and especially as the leader of his party, you must have fact. Otherwise, it means your talk is hollow.
Yeah.
I think for me, it is those two extremes. It's either he's misleading Parliament deliberately to protect the ANC, or his talk and threats at the ANC meeting were actually hollow.
And both are equally damning. But Scopa will have to focus on one of those issues, right? And that's the next matter I was hoping to ventilate with you. Politics are intricately linked to this development. In fact, Mervyn Dirks, who arguably sparked the chain of events here, is viewed within the ANC in a particular light. In other words, he's seen as some kind of political foe for the president because of his alliance to the RET faction, so to speak. The question then becomes, how does Scopa, in going through this process, protect itself from falling through the political cracks here?
No, very true. Look, when I was chairing Scopa, there were instances when we called some ministers, they would complain that, no, you're focusing on women ministers, why are you leaving men? So those kind of conspiracy theories will always be there. But as long as the committee sticks to simple, clear processes and focuses on matters that are relevant to their mandate, I think they will be able to, in the eyes of the public, to clear themselves of this. And the issue is this. The president is caught saying he has knowledge about the stealing of public money. And what the committee wanted from him was, share with us that information. Now he comes back to the committee and says, I don't know anything. I don't have any information. And I think all the committee can and should do is to say, well and good, we have seen your documents, but can you come and then clarify these things for us? Why is this audio your voice? Yes, it's you who's saying this. Now, how do you reconcile you saying it is common knowledge and you saying I don't know anything? And then for him to clarify that. I thought that the so-called RET faction was actually going to be in trouble because what the president will do will give information about them stealing money, and then Scopa will be chasing after them and not the president. But him saying, I know nothing, I think just complicates the issues.
Sure. Plenty to consider as we wait for those deliberations to get underway. Thanks for your take. Really do appreciate your time this Wednesday morning. Themba Godi, the former chairperson of Scopa.